Across this big, brown, flat, mysterious, crazy country, it's Martin Molloy with Mick Molloy and Tony Martin.
No, this is not a promo. This is not a commercial. This is the actual show going to air finally. It's our first program, people, and thanks for joining us. We're kicking things off in fine style today with a competition we feel is going to take this nation by storm. We're opening the $1 Million Lunchbox. Also, Radio Gladiators. We're going to give you the chance to sing and win on today's program. Bondi's wedding, we take you behind the scenes. Glenn A. Baker, he's going to be popping in to plug his new book, and Mick Molloy reveals exactly what he's done with the head of that statue of the Queen. It's all coming up in the next 2 hours right here on, what's the name of this show again?
Martin Molloy.
That's it.
Today FM. For inspiration.
That's Madonna making us feel shiny and new here on the very first edition of Martin Molloy. Thanks for joining us. Mickey, how are you feeling?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all, Tone.
I almost wasn't going to come in and do the show today because I don't think the station has been giving us enough support, enough promotions, enough advertisements. There's been nothing.
Non-stop.
No mention of the name of the show at all? It's been a disgrace. But we are going to kick things off with a few stupid competitions today, which we'll get to later. The $1 Million Lunchbox, are you excited about that?
Look at me, Tone. Look at me, Tone. I'm tingling with anticipation.
We'll tell you about that later in the show, but let's talk about Easter, Mickey. What did you get? Oh, let me tell you what I did, because as you know, I love a bit of aquatic activity.
Indeed.
I love a bit of...
You've been called a superfish in your time.
I have indeed. The water skiing. I love your scuba diving. So I spent most of my weekend at Alternative Nation. And the rain's been following it around. They've had rain in Brisbane, in Sydney, in Melbourne. It was pretty serious. At one point, I actually saw a very nervous Lou Reed starting to lead two of several different kinds of animals onto a giant ark constructed backstage.
I was interested to see people had abandoned the traditional stage diving for bombs and horses.
Very effective. But what about yourself? I understand you were spotted at the glamour wedding of the weekend.
Well, Alan Bond's wedding. You don't get away with anything in this town, do you, Tone? That's true. I went to the wedding, but before I went to the wedding, I actually went to Bondi's Bucks party.
Oh, how was that?
Well, that was a monstrous night, wasn't it? We got up to a bit of mischief. We stripped him naked, took all his money, nuggeted him, and tied him to a boom gate. It's not much, I know, but more severe than any court sentence to date, so we were pretty happy with that. We went to the wedding. It was lovely, Tone. It's the only way I can describe it. It was a small gathering. Creditors obviously weren't invited.
Sure, right.
They would have had to have been held outdoors at, say, a Rolling Stone style venue. So we got there. That was fine. The only people who were invited were those who had made money out of Bond Corp.
Right, so that's your close family and friends.
Exactly.
Like that.
And it went from there.
And so tell me, what was the highlight? The fashion, the very moving vows?
Tony, the vows. Can I tell you? Look, this is a confession, but I was teary, Tone.
Were you?
I was teary. You know, when he said, "Do you, Alan Bond, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" He said no comment, and then he nervously kind of shifted in his seat, and then he tried to plead insanity. Lawyers at this stage asked for a quick adjournment.
So are they actually married?
Yes, although Bondi does plan to appeal the decision. More about that later. But it was a magical moment when he said, "I do." Right. And Tone, you know, there's a lot of questions that Alan Bond could answer, "I do" too, really, couldn't he? The question could have been, do you, Alan Bond, intend to pay your creditors less than half a cent in the dollar for debts totalling over $650 million? I do. Do you, Alan Bond, occasionally suffer from brain damage, but only when it suits you? I do.
Do you, Alan Bond, intend to continue trying to pass that off as your natural hair colour?
I do. Do you, Alan Bond, go home every night and laugh yourself to sleep at how you seem to be getting away with it all? I do.
Today FM. Today FM. Today FM. Today FM. Today
FM. Moving in mysterious ways at 22 minutes past 5 here on Martin Molloy. And Mickey? I have to turn your attention to one of the biggest stories over Easter.
A lot of people know what this is.
A lot of people have been talking about this, the headless statue controversy. What a
hoo-ha, Tone.
People have been monarchists, have been loading up their
They're a
cars.
scary bunch, aren't they?
Loading up their utes with underpants and descending on Lake Burley Griffin to clothe the statue before it infects the youth, the young people. What do you make of the whole situation?
Well, can I tell you, Tone, I had a look at those statues, and I don't want this to sound awkward or embarrass anyone, but I kind of found it horny. You know?
What, before the head was cut off, or...?
Oh, hey, Tony, come on. What do you think I am, a creep? Of course, before the head was cut off. The only thing I actually didn't like, and it was particular to the Queen, were the breasts,
right.
which I kind of thought had that National Geographic look about them, I mean, the guy's gone to all that trouble. He could have at least chiselled out a Wonder Bra or something, Let's make it presentable. She is our reigning monarch after all, damn it. So how was that? The royalist, the monarchist, what made me laugh in that story was the New South Wales policeman who drove all the way to Canberra to fix this, and how he fixed it once he got there was he put a couple of T-shirts on them and said, there, my work here is done. As if they'd be going, oh, well, phew, thank God, that's all right, because, they often around the palace at home just go around pantsless, just wearing T-shirts, watching, Melrose Place.
Well, a lot of people, I have to say, though, Mickey, and I'm speaking for a lot of our listeners, found it pretty offensive. I do have to say that.
Oh, well, that's how it goes, really, isn't it? Who in particular?
Well, a lot of our people in here today, I noticed. I have to say, look, there's a lot of news here. Listen to this. The controversial statue is to be replaced. I've just been handed, this is an update.
Okay.
The controversial statue is to be replaced by a much more substantial one, which will be harder for vandals to remove. A team of concreters has already begun pouring a frighteningly nude and lifelike down by the lake with Senator Robert Ray.
Today FM.
It's here on Martin Molloy. Mick, what's the time?
5:29, Tom.
And now, join us on a voyage of discovery as we once again venture into the mind of Pete Smith. These are the innermost thoughts of the popular Sale of the Century booth announcer. This is the inner life of Mr. Copperart.
I'd love to see Glenn do a whole episode without pants. I wonder if Jimmy Hannon and Barry Crocker really are the same person. Why wasn't I asked to be in the I Am promo? I mean, I am, just like you. I am everyday people. Well, at least when compared to Jim Whaley. I think I may have put my back out doing all those stage dives at the Pearl Jam concert. What is the chemical symbol for Copperart? Would Glenn and Nikki mind if I installed a mini bar in the booth? I mean, no offense, but I'm usually pretty thirsty by the time they get to the gift shop.
Today FM. Today FM. Today FM.
Martin Molloy, and this is our very first show. I should just point that out again because we're trying to do it properly. We're trying to do everything by the book. It's been a long time since we've done a radio program, so I just to allay your fears at home, people, our producer Gracie, who's pushing all the buttons, is only touching CDs with the new hands-off CD tongs. Is that right, Gracie?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do they work?
It only takes me 20 minutes to get one out.
No, they're great. They do reject certain CDs, so be careful.
I'll get better as time
Made
goes
by
on.
NASA.
They are indeed. And I should just point out that in the next half hour, we're going to be giving you the chance to sing and win on Radio Gladiators.
This is Martin Molloy.
The Today FM New Music Test. Here's today's song. Oh, what?
It's 17 minutes to 6 on Martin Molloy, the new program, the shiny new program, and let's see how long we can take to break it. Just keep it
suitable for children aged 5 to 11.
And we were just having a bit of a kind of an intellectual discussion here on the program while that song was on about how there's a lot of TV theme tunes that are easy to sing along to. Like if you've had a lot to drink, for example, you can still knock out a Brady Bunch theme.
The Odd Couple, there was a classic.
I've got a friend who, whenever he's had too much to drink at a party, he'll just go into Quincy. Da-na-na-na-na-na. And he's seeking treatment now. But there's a few that are really tough, like that one. What is that?
Comedy Company? That was
Comedy
always,
Company.
How was that?
You can put your jaw out trying. No one could do the Comedy Company. That bit of whatever it is, it's kind of music at the start of Today Tonight. Nobody can do that one. But the trickiest one, without doubt, is the theme from Seinfeld.
It's a bugger.
And that sounds like a cue for...
Radio Gladiators, your chance to represent your state and win fame, glory, and fabulous prizes. Here's today's challenge.
Thanks, Pete Smith. That's right. We're challenging you to sing or hum the theme from Seinfeld. And, well, you're going to get a prize. That's right. You could score a Jeans West voucher to the value of $300. That's what, like...
and we're giving that away.
10 pairs of jeans. That's enough to clothe 10 headless statues at Lake Burley Griffin. So if you'd like to win that, all you have to do is call us and sing the Seinfeld theme. You can call us from anywhere in the country on 1-800-657-657.
Wasting valuable time with Martin Molloy on Today FM.
It's very funny. That's Annie Lennox Mick on Martin Molloy. She can belt out a tune, can't she?
She certainly can, but Tone, I'd like to see her hum or sing the theme from Seinfeld.
And that's exactly what we're asking you to do, people, on today's Radio Gladiators. And let's go to our contestants. And first up, I believe we've got Patrick from Bondi. You there, Patrick?
Yeah, I am.
You think you can do the theme from Seinfeld? I'll tell you what, we might just play you a bit of the actual theme from
Give me a
Seinfeld.
hint.
Here it is. Okay, that's enough. That's how it goes. Let's hear your version.
Dun 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 dun.
I'm sorry, Patrick, it had to be a cappella, no assistance from instruments. And I think that must be the glass of whiskey you're drinking and tapping there.
Let's go to our next contestant, Rebecca from Brisbane. Are you there? Rebecca, let's hear your version of the theme from Seinfeld.
Okay, I'll give it a go. Okay.
Okay, are you singing or...
That was the extended mix tone, I think.
I think she's either singing or drowning. We might go to our next caller, Ralph from somewhere else. Are you there?
Yes.
Ralph from Ashwood.
Ashwood, give us your Seinfeld.
Dum 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 dum.
No, I'm afraid we can't accept impressions of the Swedish chef from The Muppet Show. So I'm afraid the winner is Patrick from Bondi, using the accessories there. Patrick, you've scored the $300 Jeans West voucher. Well done.
Yeah, thanks very much.
That's all right. Thanks for taking part in Radio Gladiators. And people, stay tuned in the next hour. We'll have Glenn A. Baker in for a bit of a yak. We'll be opening the $1 Million Lunchbox, and news is next.
This is Martin Molloy.
This is Dr.
Yes, we're heading into the big second hour, and the suspense will finally be over. We're going to tell you what's inside the $1 Million Lunchbox. Excited, Mickey?
Oh, there's magic in the air, Tone, amongst other things.
There is indeed. We'll also be replying to some of our critics, and we'll be talking to Mr. Glenn A. Baker, who'll be joining us, the rock superbrain, Glenn A. Baker, I should say. He'll be joining us live in the studio. That's all coming up between now and 7 on Martin Molloy. Bon Jovi, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, here on Martin Molloy. This is the second big hour of the show. We're pretty excited in here because it's time to welcome, well, our first special guest. He's the official rock superbrain of the universe. Please welcome Glenn A. Baker. And Glenn, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in.
Guys, what else would I have done? When the invitation came through, I cancelled everything. I ran.
That was your response, wasn't it? Could I?
Yeah, exactly. Could I mean, they would actually let me. They'd have me. So here I am, panting like a puppy dog.
And you bought a book.
And I bought a book. I bought a book to give
And
you.
it's a book by you, I believe.
It's my 13th book. Unlucky for some, perhaps, but hopefully lucky for me. Faces,
Right.
Places, and Barely Human Races.
And what's in here?
What's in there is 48 pieces which run the gamut from, incisive profiles of famous people,
Right.
bizarre travel tales.
Any
looks-
toilet humour? That's something we're quite famous
Oh.
for on this program, Glenn.
large amounts of that. I mean,
Excellent.
there's crassness in reasonable doses.
Right.
And there's really, I suppose my sort of eternal curiosity given vent on page,
Now,
on
I
paper.
believe there's something about comedy in here.
Talking about comedy, I was wandering in Bulgaria. I was on the Plain of the Roses, 350 miles or kilometres from Sofia, and in this former communist state. And I stumbled upon a place that I dubbed the Louvre of Laughter. It, in fact, is the world's leading humour and satire museum, 5 stories high in Bulgaria. A place called Gabrovo.
Because they love their comedy in Bulgaria, don't they?
Well, didn't you hear about the 2 guards outside Ceausescu's palace in Romania in the last days? And one turns to the other and he says, "What do you think of this regime?" And the other guard turns to him cautiously and says, "The same as you. In that case, it is my duty to arrest you."
Oh, that's fantastic. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because it was dedicated to the new ideals of Eastern Europe. Just full of great gags like that. Also, you've got some information about Daryl Braithwaite that we might not know about.
Oh, no, I've known him for a very long time, and I was invited to profile him for Penthouse magazine. So you wanted you wanted a smart
Daryl Braithwaite and Penthouse magazine.
And I looked at Daryl and thought, now here's a man who really has never been what you could call driven. Has never been a man that's been sort of, first at the band meetings, ringing up the manager on Sundays to say, what's on, where are we going to play? He's always been a guy who's really been prepared to let, other people sort
likes to have the feet up.
Do the
So a song like "How's That" could have been a rhetorical question, really. How's that? Right, very good.
But given that, the man has survived as a household name for 25 years. So to me, there was a paradox. The story is called "The Curious Complexity of Daryl Braithwaite." I just think it's rather interesting that a man who is sort of, I suppose, as laconic as Daryl can have achieved so much over a long period of time.
So what you're saying is you're amazed that such a lazy, slack bloke has got so far. It's all in the new book, Faces, Places and Barely Human Races by Glenn A. Baker. And Glenn, I just have to come in here. We've got to play a bit of music, I'm afraid. And when we come back, we're going to test your knowledge.
Must you?
Yes, the rock trivia. That's coming up next here on Martin Molloy.
Martin Molloy, the program that means well, on Today FM.
Pat O'Banton, Baby Come Back. It's 19 after 6 and you're listening to
Martin Molloy.
And Glenn A. Baker is with us. He's got his new book out, Faces, Places and Barely Human Races. And is there much about the rock world in here? We've got...
Yeah, there are profiles on Chrissy Amphlett. There's the story on In Excess's Concert for Strife, which is the benefit concert that seemed to go slightly wrong.
Oh, yes.
They could have one of those for Michael Hutchins at the moment, I think.
Yeah, well...
All right.
Okay. There is, in fact, great dollops of rock and roll in between the everything else.
Well, let's test you. We're going to throw a few questions at you. See just how much you do know, Mr. Baker. Have you got the first one there, Mick?
I'll fire off. Considering we've just had the Stones in town, this could be considered rather appropriate. Which original member of the Rolling Stones died in the late 60s?
Found floating face down in his swimming pool? The Beau Brummel of the 60s, Brian Jones.
Yes, although we would have accepted Keith Richards.
Keith Richards merely looks that way.
Okay.
Actually, no. I just recently interviewed Keith, and I said to Keith, "Look, there's this rumour about you, that this legendary tale that you would go to Swiss clinics and that you would have all your blood transferred, right?" And he said, "No." He said, "That's about the only thing about me that is not true." He said, "It was a joke I threw at a journalist, and he took it seriously." He said, "Hey," he said, "no one sticks a needle in me, except me."
Well, Dennis Leary said that if there was a nuclear war, the only things that would survive would be cockroaches and Keith Richards. Apparently. Right.
That's entirely reasonable.
We're moving on to question 2, Glenn. You remember the quiz.
I'll remember the quiz.
What is 5150?
Well, that's the title of a Van Halen album.
No, you're wrong. It's, in fact, Barry White's pants size, I'm afraid. You should have known that one.
I have one more question for you, Glenn. Rod Stewart, of course, has been rumoured to hanging up the boots very soon. In his extensive recording career, what would you say were his major achievements?
His major achievements was, I suppose, to enshrine narcissism in rock and roll. "Do you think I'm sexy?" he sang, to which an entire world responded, "No!"
Well, Mick, what do you think his major achievements were?
Well, the correct answer to that was he's nailed 34 gold albums, 14 platinums and 43 blondes.
Oh,
who do have more fun except when they're actually with him.
Here's one for you, Glenn. This is a toughie. What was "Da-do-do-do-dee-da-da-da"?
That was a hit single by a German act called Trio, and it was supposed to be funny, but the only problem is that they actually have trouble with humour, the Germans.
I'm afraid "da-do-do-do-dee-da-da-da."
No, I'm thinking of do-do-da-da-da, I love you, do-do-da-da-da-da. You're thinking of the Police.
No.
Do-do-do-do-da. Or you're
wrong.
thinking of Frank Sinatra's early utterances.
No, none of these are right. In fact, the do-do-do-do-da-da-da was the last coherent statement by Brian Wilson. It's true. It's out of the Encyclopedia of Rock and Roll right here. Sure, it's written in pencil, but
What's the book called, Tone?
it's called Faces, Places and Barely Human Races by Glenn A. Baker.
like the
Thanks for
inflection.
coming in, Glenn.
I wouldn't have gone anywhere else, like
Cheers,
I said.
Glenn.
Goodbye, lads.
You're a
And I hope you have a wonderful time with the show.
We'll be back after this.
Today FM.
Pro on Martin Molloy with Strong Enough, and Mickey, I'm just looking at the clock. It's 6:25. There's no putting it off any longer.
Strap yourself in, Tone. It's time.
Martin Molloy, the only program that dares to open the $1 million lunchbox and gives you the chance to win. Here's how it works. 4 Australian celebrities have been paid $1 million to anonymously record the following 4 celebrity sounds. After careful deliberation, Mick and Tony have selected the 4 names they feel could have produced the mystery eructations. All you have to do is guess the 4 names, wait till you hear Mick and Tony open the lunchbox and phone in. If one or more of your choices matches theirs, you'll go into the draw for a trip for 2 to New York for lunch at the Fashion Cafe. Okay, guys, lift the lid.
Now, at this point, Mick, I should just tell a bit of a story here.
No, please do.
Last week when we were getting ready for this show, a bloke, someone who works here at the station, stopped me in the corridor, a very concerned, nervous look on his face. He goes, "Mate, this new show of yours, it's not going to be too intellectual, is it? Because people don't like it if it's a bit highfalutin." And apart from the fact that I hadn't heard the word highfalutin used in a sentence, well, ever, I think we've satisfied his requirements for
We've addressed the problem, Tone.
We are serious about this. We want you to identify these 4 sounds. We claim that 4 celebrities have made them. We're not saying that these are the actual, but we're just saying that these 4 people could have done them because we're trying to avoid legal problems. And all you have to do is see if you can guess the names, and if you guess just one of them or more, you'll go into the draw for that fabulous trip to New York for lunch at the Fashion Cafe, which I believe is the place run by the supermodels.
Elle, Claudia and Naomi.
They're actually serving the food to you.
My word.
While you're there. Well, if you'd like to take part in this very tasteful competition, call us now from anywhere in the country on 1-800-657-657. And I'm going to give you that number again, just in case you didn't hear it the first time. The number is, in fact, 1-800-657-657.
Today FM.
Chisels with My Baby here on Martin Molloy, where we're playing the $1 million lunchbox. We've opened it.
We're knee deep in it.
That's right. We're asking you to identify the following 4 celebrity sounds. Here they are. And on the line, I believe we have Ian from Adelaide. Are you there, Ian?
Yeah.
This show isn't even heard in Adelaide. How did you manage that?
I was on the phone to someone in Melbourne and I quickly rang up.
Oh, you're a genius. Okay, we've got to get those 4 names off you. What are your 4 guesses for the $1 million lunchbox?
Not in order. One of them must be Steve Vizard. One of them's Fred Flintstone. One of them's Demis Roussos. And the other one's Fat Albert.
Oh, I'm afraid not. None of the 4 names we're looking for, so I'm afraid you do take home a copy of the M People album Bizarre Fruit, Ian.
I got that already.
Oh, have you? Well, you can throw it out.
Okay.
That's your honour.
Brand spanking new one, Ian.
That's right. And we'll be playing $1 Million Lunchbox again at the same time tomorrow.
This is Martin Molloy.
Hi, this is Tina Jolly from Warrington. Did you hear what the Today FM morning crew said this
Absorber to automatically adjust to driving conditions, giving us a comfortable ride around town and a firm, controlled ride during cornering or sudden braking. Which, by the look of that car up ahead, may come in very handy.
Munro Sensor Track Shock Absorbers. Comfort when you want it, control when you need it.
It's a weekend of electrifying thrills for the adventurous at heart. The Dreamworld Adventure Package from the Gold Coast International Hotel is guaranteed to get your adrenaline pumping. Stay the night at the Gold Coast International Hotel with a patio breakfast for 2, 2 tickets to Dreamworld plus coach transfers and time to explore all that Gold Coast has to offer. All this for just $105 per person twin share. Hurry, book now. Call the Gold Coast International on 008 074 020. Conditions do apply.
I'm reporting to you from downtown, where an astonishing event is happening. Lucky the Cat is now 10 stories high.
That's lucky.
But don't panic, folks. He seems friendly. I think he's about to speak.
Get luckier.
New Lucky Lotteries now has bigger jackpots more often, worth many more millions in both the $2 and $5 jackpot lotteries.
That's big. That's lucky.
New Lucky Lotteries. Bigger than ever and still your best bet yet.
Get luckier.
Get a load of this.
It's the incredible new range of pre-shrunk prices from Sportsgirl. We've shrunk the prices on selected items by taking $20 off. Prices on denim jackets, Sportsgirl knitwear, even the prices on selected dresses, shirts and skirts have been shrunk way down. Now at $20 off.
Also, a special hello to everyone listening to us from tornado or cyclone-stricken parts of the big brown land. One man, listen to this was a story in the paper this morning, Steve Williams in Pambula can thank a boring Sunday night's TV for his life. It turns out that dull programming on the telly on Sunday night sent him off to bed early. Normally Kip's down about 11 o'clock, our Steve. But
so
decided
if the cricket had been on, he would have been up watching that.
That's right. But there was nothing on, so he headed off at about 8 o'clock, and all of his house was destroyed except his bedroom. He miraculously escaped. Isn't that a wonderful, heartwarming story?
Very interesting. And I should just point out, there is a cyclone warning tonight, actually, Tone, right across the eastern seaboard.
Yep.
So to avoid danger, tune into Channel 7, watch that new Australian drama Fire, and you'll be in bed safe as houses before you know it.
Sound advice there, but I'm afraid it is time for us to sign off.
Oh, say it can't be true, Tone.
We'd like to thank our guest, Glenn A. Baker.
Yeah. The rock and roll...
Hello to everyone listening to us from...
Shirts and skirts have been shrunk way down. Now at $20 off.
Also, a special hello to everyone listening to us from tornado or cyclone-stricken parts of the big brown land. One man, listen to this was a story in the paper this morning, Steve Williams in Pambula can thank a boring Sunday night's TV for his life. It turns out that dull programming on the telly on Sunday night sent him off to bed early. Normally Kip's down about 11 o'clock, our Steve. But
so
decided
if the cricket had been on, he would have been up watching that.
That's right. But there was nothing on, so he headed off at about 8 o'clock, and all of his house was destroyed except his bedroom. He miraculously escaped. Isn't that a wonderful, heartwarming story?
Very interesting. And I should just point out, there is a cyclone warning tonight, actually. Tune into Channel 7, watch that new Australian drama. To avoid danger, tune into Channel 7, watch that new Australian drama Fire, and you'll be in bed safe as houses before you know it.
Sound advice there, but I'm afraid it is time for us to sign off.
Oh, say it can't be true, Tone.
We'd like to thank our guest, Glenn A. Baker.
Yeah. The rock and roll mouth. he rabbited on that boy, didn't he?
Certainly did. And don't forget, his new book is out now. We'd also like to thank our radio gladiators and the man who dirtied his hands by taking part in the $1 Million Lunchbox, which will be back tomorrow, along with hopefully our special in-studio guest, that roguish Irish imp, Jamoan. He'll be joining us on the program. So till tomorrow, remember, if you can't say something intelligent, come talk to us.
With half-baked ideas and ill-conceived concepts. Proprietary Limited. Pete Smith speaking.